Morning all. Just another Monday musings really. More of a catch up than anything else. Due to being quiet a bit over the weekend. As you can tell by my surroundings, I'm not in the dojo today. I was in for a little bit this morning. Just sort of in a blind mad rush to try and catch up with things, as we all do on a Monday morning. And sort of hit that break point where I'd sort of had enough, and I have the luxury of being able to sort of retreat and get home. I'm trying a new format for the for me Monday musings as sort of a collection of videos really. So I've got a new channel set up for the dojo, so these will be uploading to YouTube now, and then sort of put through whichever social media platforms going forward. For those that are interested, I plan on building the platform up over time, just with some tidbits and stuff here and there. And yeah, so had a really fantastic seminar over the weekend, and that was with Sue King at Tivadale Shotokan Karate Club. They always host fantastic people anyway. Anybody who's been to one of their seminars will know. But yeah, it was a really good one. I've not actively trained in jiu-jitsu for a long time. I was a teenager when I was still doing that. I moved into jiu-jitsu from judo, which was my sort of foundation art, and then from there moved on to the jiu-jitsu club, and then from the jiu-jitsu club I found the Tode Jutsu school that I'm at and part of, and running classes for now. So that was pretty cool. Got a lot of time for it. It was a great experience, to be honest with you. For anyone that's not trained with her before, Sue is phenomenal at what she does. And I mean, she's physically built to perfectly demonstrate the key principles that you tend to find in jiu-jitsu. Because she's quite small in frame, she needs to be technically incredibly sound in order to get guys like my size, for example, into certain locks, chokes and takedowns, and she does so with relative ease. And that kind of efficacy only comes from a long time training and practicing. So yeah, we covered some pretty cool stuff. I imagine probably fairly foundational stuff for what she does, but it was well applied. And then she encouraged everybody to adapt what they were doing to suit what they did. So at TSKC you've got primarily karateka, and it was like adapt this, add these strikes in here and there, and adjust the way you do things to suit you, and that was fantastic. I know that based on some of the social media stuff that Sue's put out there, she's been through quite a journey as a martial artist to improve her jiu-jitsu, improve her martial arts over time, and leaning more towards what you'd consider a realistic martial art. I hate the fucking word realistic in martial arts. It pisses me off. What's realistic for one person is complete fucking fantasy for another in some instances. It's a grey term, depending on where you live, what you do for a living, how you live your life. What is real for one is unreal for another. But yeah, more street effective, I suppose. More useful, more combat efficacive. Efficacive, is that a word? Has more combat efficacy. I don't know. I need to Google that one, I suppose. I ain't got a dictionary to hand. Anyway, so she's been stripping down her own martial arts and then improving it to suit her purposes, her needs better. Which is something that all martial artists should strive to do, regardless of what it is you do. You should always strive to push forward. And it actually sort of brings me to what I've been thinking about today. So there's always this argument between the modern and the traditional, and oftentimes there's like this clashing between the two. And in actual fact, it's a fairly moot point. It sort of reminds me of arguments between, political parties. Except in the case of political parties, they're all going to fucking screw you over, whichever one you vote for. In terms of martial arts, it doesn't matter what you train in, it doesn't matter what you do, with some exceptions. Generally speaking, if you train hard enough, long enough, and research deeply enough into an art, you will find something that suits you, that will serve your purposes in one way or another. Pretty much all martial arts, if you have the purpose of becoming healthier, they will help in that respect. Again, there's exceptions to that rule. All martial arts come with elements of risk, so you are doing fairly heavy contact stuff that's based around combative principles at some point, which carries with it an element of risk and injury. But on the whole, you will get fitter and healthier from practicing any and all martial arts if you do it for long enough. If you do any activity for long enough, you will become fitter and healthier at it. For those that are more into dealing with violence, I mean, that on its own is a huge subject. Learning a singular martial art, in my opinion, isn't enough when it comes to that kind of stuff. If you are planning on dealing with violent confrontation, whether you're doing it for a job or whether you're doing it because you live in a rough as fuck area, which, is something I've had to grow up with, just learning to be good at fighting or being able to defend yourself it's not as simple as some physical actions. There's more to it. There's a ton of reading involved. There is a ton of research involved. You have to not just train your body, you have to train your mental state. You have to be able to find a space where you can switch on and off that aggression. No, not aggression, that violent switch. There is a switch that you have control over, or you can learn to have a degree of control over. And, learning effective ways to communicate within confrontation and stuff like that. There's a lot involved. There is a shitload involved. And it's hard work. It's hard work to learn it, let alone teach it. Because it's such a broad subject. And you know what? Not everybody's ready to deal with it as well. Some people will say that they want to learn self-defense, and then when faced with even a glimpse of the reality of what that actually entails and what you have to do to become ready for that, many people will shy away from it because it shatters preconceived illusions that they may have. And that's not a knock to these people. It just may not be what they actually wanted. So, the traditional and the modern, there's constant arguments going on. The worst ones I tend to find come from America. They've been some of the worst ones. I was on a Facebook group a while back, and there was an argument that came up about TMA, traditional martial arts, and MMA. And I was reading into it. I love MMA. For those that don't know, I'm a massive fucking fan of MMA. I love the sport. I think it's fucking awesome. The athletic level of even journeyman MMA fighters in fairly unknown leagues these days is a cut above the rest of just about everybody else. The physical skill that they have and that they demonstrate is phenomenal. It is on another level. And then the technical skill that they have to work within the rule sets that they work within, also, it is miles better than a lot of other athletes in combat sports athletes at similar levels. But anyway, so I was reading this thing and I was like, MMA, mixed martial arts as a sport, and I started seeing arguments crop up And it became very apparent very quickly that what people were referring to as MMA was not MMA the sport. It was that they'd sort of made up their own meaning for the word. Now, obviously, MMA means mixed martial arts. So, strictly speaking, had they made up a reasoning for it? No. But these guys were referencing, you know, certain types of knife combatives and weapon combatives, you know, using firearms and things like that. And military combatives, which are very fucking hit and miss, let's be honest with you, in my opinion. But stuff like that. So there were these people arguing that like these particular combative sets work better against these, and you're like, well, yeah, if you got a guy who's done fucking kung fu from 2,000 years ago, he's probably not prepared for somebody to shove a shotgun in the back of his head, you know. So yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, some of the arguments become fucking ludicrous, absolutely stupid, and it's like, oh, how do you deal with this guy pointing a gun at you? I don't fucking know. I live in the UK. I don't have to worry about somebody shoving a gun in my face, to be quite honest with you. If you live in the UK and you have to worry about somebody shoving a gun in your face, you're probably already part of a very fucking violent society to begin with. These people do exist. They're out there. I fucking know some of them. They ain't part of my social circle, though. You know? So the likelihood of me having to worry about that is slim to none. It's never none. It's never completely none, but it's pretty fucking slim. So, do I need to know how to dodge bullets? Nah, not really. Will I actively go out and seek that kind of training? Yeah, if I get the opportunity. With that said, it's got to be cost effective to me. I've got to be able to travel there. I've got to be able to train safely. And bear in mind that I have a martial arts school to run on top of that, where if I'm injured, I am fucked because there are no classes. You know, you have to take a lot of factors into account when going out and cross-training. But anyway, the main thing was that there was this big argument between traditional and MMA, but it wasn't MMA. It was a different way of looking at the term mixed martial arts. And yeah, these things always come up. And I mean, you'll see videos, MMA guy beats fucking kung fu guy, karate guy beats fucking judo guy, something like that. It's all ridiculous. You know, people still miss the point of it being a case of practitioner versus practitioner. Very often you will see a guy who's very out of shape get beaten by a guy who's in shape, just based on pure athleticism. And that's not to demean a martial art on either side. That's just fucking human nature. If you are physically more adept, you stand more of a chance of being able to win. That is how nature builds its, you know, creations. So yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. But again, you know, who knows? My personal opinion on it, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I come from a primarily karate-based background, and not your typical 3K karate-based background as well. So the karate that I've practiced is very non-similar to a lot of other stuff that you'll see, and it's weird because in one respect, you know, it's helped me a lot because I've been able to, you know, walk away from certain confrontations fairly unscathed because of what I was taught. In other respects, it's made it very difficult to create meaningful connections with other martial arts people, other communities, martial artists until much later in my life, which is a shame because there's so many opportunities that I believe I've missed out on because I couldn't make those links earlier on at certain critical points. But you know, you can't mourn the past for stuff like that. On the subject of the traditional against the modern though, miscommunication's a massive factor. So one of the major things that you see a problem of is people not understanding either side of the fence. And a couple of people have tried to a degree to bridge that gap, but you know, they are the minority against a majority of ignorant fucks. Really, I'll be honest with you. In all fairness, if you spend most of your time worrying about that particular argument, you're not really focusing on your training either side of the fence, and that is a detriment to everybody around you, including yourself. But yeah, basic arguments. You know, one of the things I always see is, oh, that wouldn't work in the cage. Okay, well, probably not, but there's certain things that would if the rules were different, you know. I don't think I've ever seen, you know, anybody being grabbed by the throat whilst they're in the cage, or have a thumb in the eye without being told off for it, or a shot in the groin without it, you know, being penalised, all that kind of stuff. The rules exist for a reason, because in sport you need those fucking rules to keep people safe. You know, if you like watching MMA, you'll always see the fighters told the first thing they're fucking told before they actually go and smack the shit out of each other is protect yourselves at all times and protect each other at all times. Yeah, they're going in there to beat the snot out of one another. They have a fight to win. That's their career. That's their job. But they're not going in there to kill the other guy. They're going in there to win. That's something completely different. And traditional martial arts, they have just as varied goals as well. They're not all focused around self-protection. Some are focused around personal self-development and stuff like that as well. And I think, you know, as individuals, we need to respect and understand that. There are some things that I will never understand and I can't wrap my head around. Aikido is a big one for me. I cannot wrap my head around it because I can't, for me, see the purpose either way. And I've had Aikido people try to tell me that what they do is effective when faced with violence. And I know 100% hand on heart that what they've demonstrated to me would get them killed. You know, I can't wrap my head around that. I can understand maybe certain aspects for the spirituality and stuff like that, and, you know, feeling good about how you practice. I can't understand the excessive uke cooperation and stuff like that if you're trying to develop an art that, in some cases, advertises self-protection. But that's just me. And again, I'm not going to go out my way to slag people off and stuff like that for it. It's just a case of you go, well, okay, I don't understand. At some point I may dig into it. Maybe it becomes part of a study I do when I'm not studying something else. But it's not important. And if these people aren't hurting me, I'm not going to bother with them. You know, so it's one of those things. Just get along with people. That's it, really. Just get along with people. But yeah, the whole thing is just a bit strange, and I can't understand the animosity. I don't get the animosity between it. It's all done online. I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually sort of step up and back up their own words. I mean, I wouldn't mind if people did more of that, to be quite honest with you. You know, rather than the silly arguments and stuff like that, put your money where your mouth is. And if you have a problem with someone directly, confront them about it. Agree on, I don't know, maybe some mutual terms and just fucking fight it out or something like that. You know, one of the things that pisses me off with martial artists that do a lot of fucking aggro online, on the forums, bullshido forums and all that kind of shit, is you've got a lot of people that do a lot of arguing and putting other people down, and they're not willing to confront people on it. And if they are called out, they then laugh it off and they use that as ammunition to tear down whoever's called them out on it. And I don't get that. If you want to take the piss out of somebody, fine. If that person then says, well, all right, then I'll be willing to fucking fight you to prove my point, as a martial artist, I think you should turn around and go, well, yeah, you know what, okay then, prove your fucking point. And then back up your, as Eddie Hall says, Now, bear in mind, the guy lost a fucking fight to a load of long-range jabs from Hafthor Bjornsson. Back up your bullshit, you know. What have you got to lose except your pride? What have you got to gain except a better perspective and maybe a bit of humility? But yeah, funny old one for the Monday Musings. I'm not going to keep rambling on for too much longer. Just to touch on something that has hit quite hard. I mentioned previously to people that over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of bad news to people close to me, mainly concerning people passing away. So I'd like to just take a moment to touch on the passing of Sensei Damien Wood, who I didn't know fantastically well. I trained with him a handful of times at most, spoken to him very briefly here and there on Messenger. As I understand it, he passed away earlier on in the week. I believe he was about 50 years old, which is absolutely no age to go. I don't know the full ins and outs and the circumstances behind how he passed, and honestly, that's not my business. I'm fairly certain, you know, his family and close friends, when the time's right, will reveal that information. But my memories of Damien Wood are all positive memories. The guy was an absolute giant of a man. And obviously people that know me know that I'm not going to use the words giant of a man very lightly, because I'm not exactly a small guy myself. But Damien Wood was about 2 of me wide and about an extra half of me tall, or at least it seemed like that when you were looking at him. And he had these massive hands. They were like shovels. Honestly, he was a big, massive, gentle giant though. He was phenomenal at what he did. His karate was exceptional. It really was. And the knowledge behind what he did was well up there, you know. And he gave off an aura that he was bigger than he seemed, and deeper as a person in here than what you would see on the surface. There aren't many people you'll ever meet in your life, particularly martial artists, who exude an aura of depth like that. In a lot of cases, many people will guard from showing anyone that. But Sensei Wood was, you know, exceptional in that thing. He had a heart and soul as big as he was. Yeah, it's a horrible time to be losing people. So please check in on the people that you know. Make sure they're all okay. Never leave and part ways on an argument with anyone. Check in on your friends, because you never know when you'll be able to speak to them next. Bit of a bum note really to finish on, but yeah, massive love and respect to Sensei Wood. There is a large hole in the karate world since you've passed, and I hope that his family and close friends come through this difficult time stronger for it and okay. But again, please check in on your family and friends. And yeah, there's your Monday musings for today. Just a little bit of a ramble really, because I've got a scrambled head from trying to catch up with a half a ton of stuff. I'm now going to carry on with my Monday office crap, and I will see you all fairly soon. I hope in the dojo or at an event, or through Messenger or over the phone. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you all soon.